At 35, I finally bought my dream condo in Denver. And then my sister screamed, "Then get out!" at me in my own living room after I'd spent weeks babysitting her kids and paying for everything. I didn't scream back. I did something else instead. A couple of months later, my parents showed up at my door with a rhubarb pie and an apology, right after they'd kicked my sister out themselves. The call came on a Tuesday evening, right when my day had finally stopped buzzing. "Julia, we need a place to stay, just for about a month." That was my sister, Vanessa. Inside, everything in me went, "No, absolutely not." On the outside, I said, "What happened?" "Our landlord's doing this huge renovation." She sighed dramatically. "We have to move out for a while." "Okay. And Mom and Dad's place?" She actually snorted. "Julia, they have a tiny one-bedroom in that old brick walk-up. There are 4 of us. Where are we supposed to sleep? On the stove? And Anthony's commute from there would be like 2 hours each way. From your place, it's 20 minutes. You've got 3 bedrooms, space, a balcony. It's perfect." She softened her voice. "I promise, we'll only be there a month. Max." I was sitting at my kitchen island, looking at my perfectly quiet, perfectly organized brand new condo. 3 bedrooms, giant windows, a little terrace overlooking some trees, and very expensive landscaping. It was my home and my office. I run a small interior design studio, and I'd spent months turning this place into my minimalist sanctuary. I lived alone. I liked living alone. Every mug had its hook. Every pillow had its place. The idea of 4 extra people moving in made my eye twitch. But she was my sister, and 1 month sounded survivable when she said it fast. I exhaled. "Fine, but bring only the essentials. The rest can go in storage or on Mom and Dad's balcony." "Of course. Thank you. Seriously, Julia. You're saving us." 2 days later, a rented U-Haul truck pulled up in front of my building like we were staging a small corporate relocation. I watched from the window as Vanessa and her husband Anthony unloaded box after box after box. When they finally made it upstairs, my living room turned into a satellite warehouse for IKEA. "Vanessa, what is all this?" I stared at the towers of bins and bags. I said, "Only the essentials." She shrugged, already shoving a box into a corner. "You know Mom and Dad's balcony is full of their junk, and storage units are crazy expensive. Don't worry, we'll arrange everything neatly." They didn't. Boxes loomed in every corner. Suitcases exploded. My carefully curated, airy interior vanished under a landslide of someone else's stuff. "And where is everyone supposed to sleep?" I asked, trying very hard not to sound like I already regretted my life choices. "Well," Vanessa said brightly, "Anthony and I can take the guest room. The kids can have your bedroom. It's the biggest. And you can set up in your office. There's that pull-out sofa, right?" So that's how I ended up unfolding a creaky sleeper sofa in my workroom, giving my own bedroom to an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, while my sister and her husband took over the guest room. My perfect floor plan collapsed like a card house. The first few days were educational. The kids came home from school like someone had shot them out of a cannon. They didn't walk. They ricocheted. They screamed, argued, body slammed each other down the hallway. I kept telling myself, "It's just a month. You can survive a month." Vanessa worked part-time at a chain clothing store. Mornings, she dropped the kids at school. She'd be at the store until 2, sometimes 3, and then, instead of picking them up early, she'd grab coffee with friends, or swing by the mall real quick, or check out this new place for late brunch. Which meant that on more days than not, my nephew and niece came home from after-school care straight into my office. "Aunt Julia, play with us!" my 8-year-old nephew yelled one afternoon, bursting in while I was hunched over a budget spreadsheet for a big client. "I'm working, babe," I said. "Big deadline." "We're bored," he groaned. "Mom said you'd watch us." His little sister poked her head in behind him, clutching a stuffed animal by the ear. Aunt Julia, I'm hungry. The first few times, I made them grilled cheese sandwiches, sliced apples, pulled yogurt out of the fridge. A week in, I realized I was spending more time as a live-in cafeteria than as a designer. Okay, guys, I said finally. You're big kids. You can make your own snacks. Bread, cheese, turkey, everything's right there. Just don't use the stove without me. They managed just fine. Kids are remarkably competent when the alternative is starvation. 2 days later, Vanessa stormed into my office, arms folded. Julia, why are my kids living on dry sandwiches? I blinked at her. Because I'm trying to work, and they're constantly starving? But you're home all day, she said, like she was breaking devastating news. Vanessa, my home is my office. I earn money here. I have deadlines, Zoom meetings, site visits. This isn't me hanging out, this is my job. She narrowed her eyes. So what am I supposed to do with them? I stared at her for a beat. I don't know. Maybe actually parent your own children instead of brunching your way across Denver? She absolutely did not appreciate that suggestion. The situation really blew up the morning I had to drive out to a gated community in the foothills, about 2 hours each way, to supervise a major kitchen and living room remodel. Big client. Big money. Definitely not optional. I told Vanessa the night before. Tomorrow I'll be gone all day. I'm leaving at 8, back late. She nodded vaguely, scrolling on her phone. Yeah, no problem. The next morning, I was standing by the door with my keys in hand when she suddenly jumped up like I'd announced I was moving to the moon. You can't leave, she snapped. What am I supposed to do with the kids? Take care of them, I said. They're your kids. But I made plans with Lisa, she whined. We were going to try this new place for late breakfast. I already told her. Then cancel, I said. It's work, Vanessa. You know, that thing that pays for this condo where you're currently living rent-free? She threw a full-blown tantrum. I left anyway. Work is work. When I got back that evening, the moment I opened the door, I was hit by sound. The TV was blasting at airport runway volume. My parents both have hearing problems, so the volume dial lives permanently at max. The kids were sprinting around and shrieking, my parents were yelling to each other over the noise, and Vanessa was on the phone, laughing like she'd just heard the funniest joke of her life. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad, I said, stepping around a pile of Legos. What are you doing here? Vanessa called, Mom said, eyes glued to some game show. She said you abandoned the kids. Somebody has to watch them. Abandoned, I repeated. I went to work. Well, we're here now, she said. And don't worry about dinner. I cooked for everyone. I'll admit, that part was nice. A real, home-cooked meal for the first time in a week. But from that day on, it was like a gate opened. Instead of one extra family, I had the whole clan in my condo on a daily basis. Every afternoon turned into chaos hour, kids screaming, TV roaring, Vanessa gossiping on the phone, Mom and Dad shouting to be heard over all of it. Working became physically impossible. The following Saturday, I had another site visit. This time a full gut remodel of a suburban house about an hour's drive away. I couldn't skip it. The contractor needed decisions on finishes. By the time I got home that evening, I heard the noise from the parking lot. Music, laughter, too many overlapping voices. I walked through my condo to the terrace windows and froze. My parents had thrown a full-on backyard barbecue on my terrace and the shared grill area. At least 15 people were out there. Distant relatives, neighbors, people I didn't recognize at all. They'd dragged out all my patio furniture, occupied the grill, and, judging by the empty fridge I found later, gone through the week's groceries I'd bought the day before. I took a breath, pasted on a polite smile, and stepped outside. No point making a scene in front of half the extended family. "Julia!" Dad yelled, waving a skewer like a baton. "Come join us. We decided to have a little get-together. You don't mind, right? Did I mind? I minded a lot, but I wasn't about to start screaming over a tray of hot dogs. Of course, I said tightly. I see you found everything you needed. When the last guest finally left around 10, my parents mumbled something about being tired and having church in the morning and took off. Vanessa and Anthony disappeared into their room with the kids. I spent the next 2 hours crawling around the terrace, picking up beer bottles, disposable plates, half-eaten kebabs, and cigarette butts. My pristine outdoor space looked like the back lot of a stadium concert. The next day, around noon, my parents showed up again with the kids in tow. "We're here to sit with the kids while Vanessa runs some errands," Mom announced like she was doing me a favor. "Actually," I said, "we need to talk about yesterday." Dad sighed dramatically. "Oh, come on, Julia. We just relaxed a little. You're always alone here. It's not good for you. Sometimes you need some company." "I don't want any more parties here," I said. "No barbecues, no little get-togethers without asking me." "Don't be ridiculous." Mom waved me off. Vanessa shuffled out of the guest room, squinting. "What's with all the noise?" "I'm explaining to Mom and Dad that there are no more parties in my condo," I said. "Ever." "Julia, they just wanted to have some fun," Vanessa said. "You make such a big deal out of everything." "This is my home, Vanessa," I said. "Also, your month is almost up. When exactly are you guys moving back?" Vanessa went quiet so fast it was like someone hit mute. Anthony suddenly discovered something fascinating on his phone and refused to look up. Later that week, I got a text from my realtor, Mark. "Hey, sent you that list. 20+ rentals in their old neighborhood." I forwarded it straight to Vanessa. "Here are more than 20 options in your old area. Start calling." A minute later, she stormed into the kitchen, phone in hand. "Julia, have you lost your mind? We're family." "Families don't lie about how long they're staying," I said calmly. "Families don't throw parties in your home without asking. Families don't turn you into a free nanny while they drink overpriced lattes." My parents, who had dropped by just to say hi, looked suddenly very interested in the floor. Dad cleared his throat. "Maybe we should head home. You guys can work this out." After they left, Vanessa and Anthony locked themselves in the guest room. I could hear them arguing quietly through the wall. A week later, the utility bills arrived. Normally, my electric bill was around $80. This month, over $200. Water, usually $30, was now more than $100. Gas had pretty much tripled. And when I added up my grocery receipts, my usual $400 a month had exploded into over $1,600. That wasn't even counting whatever my parents had blown on their barbecue. That night at dinner, I laid it out. "I've gone through the bills," I said. "If you're not going to move out next month, we need new rules. You'll pay $700 a month plus half of all utilities and groceries." Vanessa choked on her pasta. "700? She sputtered. "Are you insane?" "That's what it costs to house and feed 4 extra people," I said. "We are not paying you rent," Anthony snapped. "You're our sister, not a landlord." "Great," I said. "Then you have exactly 2 weeks to find another place. After that, I'm changing the locks." They stormed off to their room and slammed the door like teenagers. The next day, my parents showed up and came at me the second I opened the door. "You can't throw your own sister out on the street," Mom practically sobbed. "She's not on the street," I said. "She has options. She just doesn't want to use them." "You're cruel," Mom said. "I'm reasonable," I replied. "This is my home. I decide who lives here." "We didn't raise you like this," Dad said stiffly. "You raised me to stand up for myself," I said. "That's exactly what I'm doing." They left, offended, clearly assuming I'd calm down and apologize. I didn't. For the next few days, Vanessa and Anthony didn't speak to me at all. The kids were quiet. My parents stopped dropping by to help. Honestly, it was the most peaceful week I'd had since they moved in. The following week, I had to go out of town for 3 days to oversee a big commercial project, a full redesign of a chain's flagship office space a few hours outside Denver. It was the kind of job that could fund a good chunk of my year if I did it right. I left early Tuesday morning. By Thursday night, I was dragging myself back up to my building, already fantasizing about my couch and silence. From the parking lot, I could hear the noise. Music, shouting, laughter. I ran upstairs. When I opened my front door, 20 strangers turned to look at me. Someone had dragged my speakers into the living room. There were beer bottles on every flat surface. My coffee table was serving as a buffet for chips and dips. My sofa had become a trampoline. "What the hell is going on here?" I shouted. "Everybody out, now!" Vanessa staggered toward me, clearly drunk, with a sloppy smile. "Oh, relax," she slurred. "Don't be such a buzzkill." "This is my condo," I said, every word clipped. "This party is over. I want everyone out." She squinted at me, swaying slightly. "Don't like it?" she drawled. "Then get out." For a second, I thought I'd misheard, but the room went quiet. Everyone stared. Some random guy I'd never seen in my life threw an arm around her shoulders and yelled, "Yeah, it's our place now. Beat it." The crowd laughed and hooted like this was the funniest thing in the world, telling the actual owner to leave her own home. I could have called the police right then. Trust me, I thought about it. But I didn't feel like dealing with a room full of drunk strangers and a long night of explaining my lease to an overworked cop. So I did exactly what Vanessa had told me to do. I grabbed my bag and left. There's a budget hotel just off the highway, one of those places with a waffle maker in the lobby and carpets older than the receptionist. I checked in for the night, lay there staring at the ceiling, and went over every choice that had led me to this point. In the morning, I went back. The condo was quiet. The door wasn't even locked properly. Inside looked like a hangover. Beer bottles everywhere, food ground into the rug, sticky rings on the coffee table. My once gorgeous, custom-made coffee table had a cigarette burn right in the middle, like someone had decided it was an ashtray. I didn't cry. I opened the windows, put my hair up, and started working. All morning, I methodically packed Vanessa's family's belongings into boxes and suitcases. Everything they'd brought with them when they moved in, plus all the extra junk that had multiplied over the past 6 weeks. Clothes folded, kids' toys sorted, shoes paired. I organized their chaos the same way I organize my clients' homes. Only this time, I wasn't getting paid. By noon, there were neat columns of boxes and luggage lined up by the door. That's when I heard a key in the lock. Vanessa came in with the kids behind her. They froze when they saw the luggage. "Julia, what are you doing?" she gasped. "You can't kick us out. We have nowhere to go." "You should have thought about that before you threw a drunken party in my home and told me to get out," I said. "You have 2 weeks, just like I told you. Your stuff is packed. Start looking." The kids looked from her to me, confused and scared. That part hurt. None of this was their fault. "Please, Julia," Vanessa sobbed. "I'm sorry, okay? It won't happen again." "You're right," I said. "It won't. Because you won't be living here." She kept crying, but I was done. The switch had flipped. An hour later, my phone rang. I didn't even get a chance to say hello before Mom's voice blasted through the speaker. "How dare you throw your own sister out?" she screamed. I hung up. They called 5 more times. I didn't pick up. For the rest of the week, nobody spoke to me in that apartment. Vanessa and Anthony acted like I was a ghost. The kids stayed quiet. My parents stopped showing up to help with anything. It was, again, blissfully calm. The next Wednesday, I had to drive 3 hours to check on a very high-end remodel for one of my best clients. Italian tile, custom cabinetry, the works. I wasn't going to risk that job for anything. I got home around 10 that night. My condo was empty. Every box, every suitcase, every toy, every piece of Anthony's clothing, gone. They'd moved out while I was gone. No note, no text, no, "Thanks for letting us wreck your life for a month and a half." Definitely no envelope of cash to cover the giant utility and grocery bills they'd helped create. I walked from room to room, almost in shock. The living room was a living room again. My bedroom was my bedroom. My office was just an office. Not a makeshift bedroom with a lumpy pull-out sofa. No screaming, no TV roaring, no Legos under my feet. Just silence. I didn't feel abandoned. I felt something else. Relief. That weekend, I did a full reset. Deep cleaned the bathroom, shampooed the rugs, put my furniture back where it belonged. By Sunday night, the condo looked exactly the way it had the day before that U-Haul truck ever pulled up. And then, nothing. For 2 months, total radio silence. No calls from Vanessa. No texts from Anthony. My parents pretended I'd been temporarily removed from the family group chat of life. I threw myself into work. I took on 2 big projects at once, hired another designer, and started scouting an additional workspace in a nearby office building. Without the constant chaos, my productivity went through the roof. One Saturday morning, there was a knock on my door. I checked the peephole. Mom, holding a glass baking dish. I opened the door. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, honey," she said, stepping in. She held up the dish. "Your favorite. Strawberry rhubarb pie." She set it on the kitchen counter, then sat on the couch and slowly looked around my clean, quiet condo. "Julia," she said finally, "we owe you an apology." That I wasn't expecting. 2 weeks ago, we kicked Vanessa and her family out, she said. Well, there it was. "You kicked them out?" I repeated. "We couldn't take it anymore," Mom said. "Every morning she dropped the kids off on us and disappeared for half the day. Out with her friends, shopping, who knows where. She never helped around the house, never bought groceries, never cooked. And Anthony wasn't any better. He came home from work, collapsed on the couch in front of the TV, and ate everything in sight." She sighed, looking suddenly older. "The kids ran and screamed all day. Vanessa was always on her phone. Our bills doubled just like yours. We even had to buy groceries on your father's credit card. We just couldn't afford to feed 4 more people." "Sounds familiar," I said quietly. "Now we understand," she said. "Why you couldn't let them stay here forever. You were right to set boundaries. We should have supported you, not taken their side." "Where are they now?" I asked. "They found a small 2-bedroom on the other side of town," Mom said. "Not a great neighborhood. Vanessa complains it's cramped and nothing like your place." "She'll adjust," I said. "We hope so." Mom paused. "Julia, we're very sorry. We should have listened to you from the beginning." I looked at her. She did look older, tired. Dealing with my sister had clearly wrung her dry. "I appreciate that," I said. "Really, and I want us to be a normal family again, but I need you to understand. My home is my home. No more surprise parties, no surprise tenants. Ever." "Of course," she said quickly. "We understand. Completely." She hesitated. "As for Vanessa, she's still angry. She says you put them in a bad situation." "Mom, she lied about their old place. She didn't have to give up that apartment. She chose to, without telling anyone, because she assumed she could camp out here indefinitely." Mom winced. "We know that now." We talked for another hour. She gave me family updates, asked about my projects. For the first time in months, she actually acted like my mom instead of Vanessa's publicist. When she got up to leave, she hugged me tightly. "We missed you, Julia," she said. "The house feels empty without you." "I missed you too, Mom," I said. After she left, I sat alone in my quiet living room, eating a slice of strawberry rhubarb pie. It tasted like childhood, sweet, a little tart, full of memories. I was glad my parents were back in my life, but I was even more glad I'd protected myself before they all dragged me under. After that, things slowly went back to normal. My parents started coming over for Sunday lunches again, just them. No kids, no Vanessa, no drama. Unspoken rule: we didn't talk about my sister. They didn't bring her up. I didn't ask. Work took off. Without constant interruptions, I could finally take on bigger projects. I signed a contract to design the interiors for an entire new condo building, 12 units, turnkey, the biggest job of my career. Around the same time, I started dating Kyle, a general contractor I'd worked with on a few projects. We went out for dinner after a final walkthrough one night, and it slowly turned into something more. Eventually, I told him the whole saga with Vanessa. He shook his head. "You did the right thing," he said. "I've seen it so many times. Family moves in just for a while, and 5 years later they're still parked on the couch, eating you out of house and home." Sometimes, late at night, I'd wonder if I'd been too harsh. He'd look at me and say, "They lied about how long they were staying. They doubled your bills. They dumped their kids on you while your sister partied. And then she threw a drunken party in your condo and told you to get out of your own home. You weren't cruel. You defended yourself." He wasn't wrong, but it still felt strange to have no contact with my own sister. About 6 months after Mom's pie and apology visit, I ran into Anthony on the street. He looked just as surprised as I felt. "Hey, Julia," he said awkwardly. "Hey, Anthony," I replied. "How are you?" "Fine," he said. "The new apartment's smaller than we'd like, but we're managing." "That's good," I said. He shifted from foot to foot. "Listen, I wanted to say something. I know things got out of hand when we were living with you." "It's fine, Anthony," I started. "No, it's not," he said. "It wasn't okay. I should have been paying more attention. We took advantage of your hospitality. I'm sorry." It was the first real apology I'd ever heard from anyone in that branch of the family. "I appreciate that," I said. "I really do." "The kids ask about you sometimes," he added. "They miss Aunt Julia." That hit harder than I expected. "I miss them too," I admitted. "Maybe someday things will get better." "Maybe," he said. But I knew nothing would really change unless Vanessa herself owned what she'd done. And according to my parents, she was still blaming me for everything. Time passed. Business stayed good. Kyle and I got engaged. Our wedding was at a lakefront venue outside the city. About 50 guests, perfect weather, great food. My parents were there, genuinely happy for me. We didn't invite Vanessa. Mom said she wouldn't have come anyway. She was still offended and insisted I had ruined her life by refusing to let her live in my condo forever for free. About a year after that, I bought a small vacation condo in Miami, partly for weekend getaways, partly to rent out short-term. Life, compared to the chaos of those months, felt almost suspiciously calm. Then Mom called one afternoon. "Julia," she said, "Vanessa and Anthony are getting divorced." I sat down. "What happened?" "I don't know all the details," Mom said. "But apparently it's about money. Anthony got tired of her spending and never taking responsibility for anything." "Where are the kids going to live?" I asked. "With Anthony," she said. "Vanessa moved in with some friends on the other side of town. She's still working part-time at that clothing store." I felt bad for the kids, but I can't say I was shocked. Vanessa was never good with money or accountability. Fast forward 2 years from the day that U-Haul first pulled up. I'm sitting in my beautiful, peaceful condo with my husband, running a successful design business. I have solid relationships with the family members who actually respect me. My phone chimed. Text from Mom. Vanessa just got kicked out of her friend's place. She's asking if she can stay with you again. What should I tell her? I stared at the screen for a second, then typed back. Tell her no. We're too old for that kind of chaos. A minute later. Already did. Just wanted you to know. I set the phone down and looked around my living room. Clean. Organized. Quiet. Exactly the way I like it. People sometimes think cutting off a relative is always wrong. That family is family, no matter how badly they treat you. Here's what I've learned. You can't help people who don't want to help themselves. You can't have a healthy relationship with someone who only sees you as a resource to exploit. Vanessa made her choices, and I made mine. I chose to protect my peace, my home, and my financial stability. I've never regretted that decision for a second. Some families can be toxic, even if you share DNA. The family you choose, the people who respect your boundaries and root for your success, those are the relationships worth keeping. I'm living proof you can be happy and successful without letting other people's failures drag you down, even if those people happen to be your relatives. But tell me, did I go too far, or just far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell.